All right, we've got just a few more of the series rules to cover. One of the things we haven't touched on just yet is improved positions. We've kind of mentioned them in passing a few times before, but they're very easy to understand. They're going to be assigned to you, generally speaking, in your order of battle, and they can be placed into any usual playable hex, subject to any restrictions that are in the scenario. Now, what a improved position is going to do is it's going to allow any units that are in that hex to ignore flat out one hit that they receive. So let's say our Jeep here is in a hex that has an improved position. If it were to take fire from enemy units, and let's say it took 2 hits, it would ignore the first hit due to the improved position, so the Jeep would only become disrupted instead of being eliminated like it would if it were in a different hex without an improved position. Something else we need to look at is minefields. Now, we've talked about the random minefields previously with the artillery delivered minefields, but you also have placed minefields as well. The rules for these different types of minefields are going to be the exact same, with the exception that a placed minefield does not attack units from its own side. So just for example purposes, let's say this minefield over here was NATO. If these NATO units were to enter this minefield hex, they would not be attacked by it, but both sides would be attacked by a random minefield if they were to enter that hex. And they also have to pay 2 extra movement point cost penalty to voluntarily leave a minefield hex. That's not including the retreat move that you have to make if you take damage, which we'll talk about here in a sec. Now remember, these rules that I'm getting ready to state are the same for both different types of minefields, and it's just the same as we talked about previously with the artillery delivered minefields and the damage that can happen. When a unit enters the minefield, you're going to roll a d6 on a 1 to 3. If there is no effect on the unit, on a 4 to 5, the unit takes 1 hit, and on a 6, it takes 2 hits, and there are no saves for these hits. All the usual rules will apply for HQs, leaders, passengers, any of that when it comes to taking hits onto units that are affected. Also, a unit that is hit will retreat to the hex that it entered the minefield from and will be marked as ops complete. So let's say our little T-80 here was driving along and entered this minefield and took a hit. It would be moved back to this location and marked as ops complete. Also, a minefield marker can be hidden before the match. And to do this, you're simply going to take a scratch piece of paper and annotate what hex you are placing your minefields in. So as an example, we see here F4, F5, we would mark the mine as being in F6. And it would not be placed on the map until an enemy unit actually entered that hex. At that point, you would let them know, hey, there's a minefield there, and you would roll for any potential damage that the unit was going to take, and the minefield would remain in the hex for the remainder of the scenario, barring any depletion or removal. When it comes to hidden minefields, you can have friendly units start the game in a hidden minefield hex, but they can't be placed into a city, town, or an improved position.